Alrighty, we're back and we're going to learn another stitch. This is one of the stitches that's most challenging to me. It's the satin stitch. So again, this is the home sampler stitch along, and we've got quite a few of our stitches done. We're getting down to the nitty gritty. So what we have here, we did the fishbone last time. So those stitches are done. Now we have these 3 eggs, and those are going to be filled in with a satin stitch. So there's a few different ways I do this. If these were bigger, I might outline them first with maybe a back stitch and then satin stitch over that, just so I have a nice line. But one little trick I do is I find a Sharpie or a Micron pen in a color that matches the thread. This isn't exactly the same red, but it will work. So what I'm going to do here is, let's see if I can adjust my light a little bit better so you can see. I'm actually going to color these eggs in. Just don't tell anybody I do this. It's my little secret. Now when I do my satin stitching, if my stitches aren't exactly even, if I see the fabric underneath between the stitches, I'm going to see this red and it's going to kind of hide it. This of course works really well if you're using black thread and then you just use a black pen. Sometimes it's kind of hard to find a pen that matches the thread color you're using. But you'll see, even though this isn't the same color of red, it's close enough that it's much better than having this fabric show through on the back. So I'm going to make these stitches kind of at an angle rather than go all the way across or this way. I think it just might be easier to get the sides looking better that way. So, and I think I'm just going to go up and down. Usually when I don't have this in a frame, which is usually how I embroider, I wouldn't do the up and down. I just take a stitch. But now we're going to come up next to that one. And the first one doesn't have to be that small, really. It travels quite a ways. Yeah, I can't go with stitch. I'll have to do the poke method. So you can see how if my stitches weren't right next to each other, the red that we filled in hides it pretty nicely. It's like I keep going back and forth between my left hand and then my right. I can't decide which to. Nope, gotta use my left under there. There we go. I do love the way a satin stitch looks. Now, another thing I've done, if they're bigger, like maybe just like a 1/4 of an inch circles, what I'll do is I will find some fabric that's about the color that I want, and I'll adhere fusible web to the back of it, and I'll draw the same size circles on the fusible web and then cut those out. And then I will iron those in place, and then I can do the satin stitches right over that fabric circle or shape. Doesn't have to be a circle. There's an egg. Hey, that's not too bad. And then you have a really nice border to stitch around when you've ironed on those the fabric that way. And it gives it a little bit of a more texture too, because it's going to stand up on top of the fabric. So once these eggs are all done, then this little block's going to be completely finished. So we don't have too many places on this design that use the satin stitch, but we do have one, the door of the beehive, the door of the birdhouse, these little eggs, and then the bee stripes. So once those are all done, then you'll be done with the satin stitch. But I do encourage you to try it. It's really just a matter of taking your time. It's you know, some of the stitches go super fast. Satin stitch is definitely not one that you can speed through. But I guarantee you these eggs would look much different if I hadn't colored that in underneath. It really does help to hide all sorts of things when you do that. All right, so continue on. You can do it. I've got faith. Share your pictures if you want. Kathy Schmitz Stitches on Instagram, and Stitch This with Kathy Schmitz on Facebook. Tag me. I'd love to see them. And we will see you again next week, where we will learn another stitch. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.